Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals On The Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry. The Bengals didn't make a move since the last episode, so if you're looking for film reviews of the free agents they did sign the three, we're not going to do Josh Johnson. That could be fun, actually. Maybe we'll wait for the summer. We'll see if he's still on the roster by then, because I think they're still open to Joe Flacco. Flacco needs to see if opportunity is going to arise, and the Bengals need to keep a certain amount of cash and cap space available for Joe Flacco. I think both sides would be happy to get back together if something doesn't happen. But now you're not forced to spend a draft pick. You're not forced to go get a higher priced backup that was out there. There was quite a few of them this year. And Flacco hasn't found a straight up starting job yet. Maybe he wants to compete for one, or just back up Joe Burrow in case of an injury, which isn't that rare. So you may find your chance to play on the Bengals as well. And we like Joe Flacco, right? So I don't think Josh Johnson cuts into that. So we won't watch film on him. But if you were looking for Jonathan Allen, if you're looking for Boye Mafe or Brian Cook, that film is under the Bengals On The Brain catalog of videos here on the First Star Media YouTube channel. And they're good episodes, so I hope you check them out. This marks our adventure back into the draft. I mean, once free agency, it goes quick. It's not like baseball where you're waiting months for players to sign. NFL free agency is 2 days, lingers for 3, 4, 5 days, and then after a week, that's pretty much it. The guys that are left now are going to get 1-year deals. Many of them won't happen until after the draft. The Monday after the draft concludes will be when these players don't count against your comp pick formula. I knew I was going to mess it up, so I slowed down there. Won't mess up your comp pick formula for the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson and potentially a 7th right now. So a 3rd for Trey and potentially a 7th because Cordell Wilson got a decent deal from the Titans. So I think that's a factor. And you go on the draft, you figure out what you can get. And what we do now is we kind of reset after free agency. And that's what this episode is going to be about. We're going to go into a mock draft simulator. We're going to use PFF again. We're going to look at it and say, okay, with Brian Cook, with Jonathan Allen, with Boye Mafe, how does that change our plans? Plus, these teams ahead of us now may have different needs or priorities based on what they did in free agency. So we're going to look at it that way and say, okay, let's let it run. Plus, I wanted to take this episode to, I've been watching a lot of draft prospects. Since we started this process in January, when I probably knew 3 to 5 guys in the first round, I feel like I can talk about pretty much everyone. So I want to use this opportunity as players get picked in the mock draft simulator to go slow and talk about these guys and the cascading effect it has on the Bengals, and if we would pick them if they're there, and just the player a little bit. So we're going to take our time. We're going to do 3 rounds. I'm going to talk about a lot of guys in the first round and then speed it up a little bit as we go through rounds 2 and 3 for our post-free agency mock. We're on PFF now. We're going 3 rounds. I want to turn the speed all the way down. I tinkered with the board a little bit because, sometimes I think PFF's a little outdated. Who am I? But, I think I can project the draft pretty well at this point. Let's enter the draft and let's go through it. We've got our standard picks here, and we're going to talk a little bit as the picks come through. Fernando Mendoza, the expected top pick, a good quarterback prospect. In our spreadsheet, we're not quarterback's the last position we do, but for us, he grades out pretty well so far. And we're talking about a big guy that can move a little bit, can deal with pocket pressure, but I felt held the ball a little bit long in the few games I did watch because I ended up watching a bunch of teams against Indiana because they were so good this year. And I think he's good and worth the pick. And it's fun time for the Raiders, but we don't care about quarterbacks, so we're going to keep it moving. Arvell Reese going number 2, probably the favorite to go number 2. He or David Bailey. I've done mocks where sometimes the Jets select Sonny Styles, and I don't think that's crazy either because Styles is one of the safest prospects in this class. But Arvell Reese never really ever makes it to us. I've had some where Styles makes it to 10. I've had some, even fewer, when David Bailey makes it to 10. I rarely ever will do a mock simulator with Arvell Reese making it to the Bengals at 10. But I would like to talk about the scenario a little bit here if it happened, because Reese is a linebacker that can also pass rush, or should I say has pass rush upside. If you can develop him into that, and maybe he can be a Micah Parsons, who had a very similar career at Penn State, where the defense just didn't ask him to do true edge rushing stuff too often. We did a film review on Arvell Reese, and I really liked him, and I think he can play linebacker just as good as any prospect here. So it's interesting to see how a team's going to use him, if it's the Jets or whomever it may be when we get there. There's our first shocker of the draft, Francis Maui-Noa. I don't know if you know this, but some of these arm measurements from the combine seem to be about a half to a quarter, 3/4 of an inch off. Maui-Noa was a little stumpy at the combine, but some teams, and sounds like I'm listening and reading and watching all the consuming of draft content I do at this time, sounds like teams are viewing him as a guard or right tackle. Played right tackle at Miami, but man, when I watched him, I thought he would be an awesome right guard as well. So like if he's there at 10 for the Bengals, I've got no issue if that's the pick, because now that they've extended Orlando Brown Jr., who we haven't gotten to talk about actually, in that situation, great. I'm cool with that. I've thought people were probably overly critical of Orlando Brown. He's still a very good player. There wasn't a worthy left tackle in the entire free agency. You're just not going to find those guys. You got to draft them. And unlucky for us or for the rest of the league, only Monroe Freeling looks like a future left tackle of the guys going in the top 15. The Georgia left tackle, right? Francis Maui-Noa looks like a guard to me. And if the Bengals were to, if he, let's say he's still available and none of the defensive players are there, like it's a good thing we see a tackle going. That's like, oh, we've got a shot here. But Maui-Noa, if he was the pick, I don't think it's because he's a future left tackle for them. Maybe he is in 3 years. But I think it would be, you're going to replace Dalton Reisner at right guard in a year. Remember, Reisner signed a 1-year deal, $3 million. I mean, we're talking, that's minimum. That's backup money. There's swing tackles that got paid more than Dalton Reisner. If they wanted to take a guard at 10, I don't think that's crazy. And I think Francis Maui-Noa would be an awesome, dare I say, nasty right guard next to Marius Mims. That'd be cool with me. So the Cardinals dive in and take our first offensive player and our first offensive lineman. David Bailey going to the Titans. I love David Bailey. We did the film review of him. I think he is a pass rush ideal prospect, an ideal pass rush prospect. His get off is really good. I think he's got more power than some people have said. I've debated with some of my best buddies that watch football and draft prospects, and they're like, I don't think he's got power. And I'm like, I think he does. And there are some that agree with me. But I think he converts his speed and his get off into power. I don't think he's just raw strength, and he definitely is lacking something in his lower body. Lacking a little bit of bend as well, and not great against the run. But man, as just a straight up pass rusher, this is a good pick for the Titans here. Although recent buzz is saying Jeremiah Love, get Cam Ward a dude, right? And so I think Love, who just now goes to the New York Giants, not the Green Bay Packers, the New York Giants at 5. I don't think he's making it past 4 and 5, Jeremiah Love. Is there a chance he goes 3? I don't know, maybe. But I think 4, 5, if not 7. Would 8 and 9? 8 and 9 signed running backs in free agency. So I don't think he's going to go that far. I think somebody would trade up if that's the case and take him. The Browns kind of put a dagger in us here at number 6. If Love was there, I would take him, just to be clear. Why? Because you draft good players. Number 6, Caleb Downs to the Cleveland Browns. Really, I mean, sure, collect good players, collect players on that defensive side, right? You're not drafting a quarterback more than likely this year. They could use a receiver. They can use offensive linemen with Maui-Noa going. Maybe that's their guy. But taking Downs here, I think a lot of people in Cincinnati would be like, man, that was the prince that was promised, right? That was our guy the whole time. The one we hoped would be the pick at 10 for a very, very long time. And now we've got the third Ohio State defender going in the top 7, which is absolutely crazy. If you're an Ohio State fan, this is a proud top 7 to look at it and go, man, they must have been doing something right, clearly. Sonny Styles going to the Washington Commanders. Although they address defense heavily in free agency, man, we're really taking punches to the chin now. Ruben Bain to the Saints at number 8. I agree. I mean, I would take him at 8 as well. This is where I'm like, win those final games at the end of the year, and then you get to the drafts, and you're like, yeah, maybe it should have lost one more. Maybe we should have had pick 8 and secured these guys. So it's going to be an interesting one for us. I would love to have Ruben Bain. He's one of the guys I'm hoping for. And Spencer Fano. So we get 2 offensive linemen to go. We don't get a receiver to go. And this is how it has to be. Like, if we want one of, and this is what I'm hoping for, and I think the Bengals would hope for this as well. If you want one of Ruben Bain, Sonny Styles, or Caleb Downs, 6, 7, 8, would you consider trading up? Would you give up your 3rd round pick to go up to get Ruben Bain at 8 with the Saints? Maybe you could swap with them. Maybe they're open to taking multiple things and they need picks. I think I'd consider it. Maybe it would be a 3rd and you get back a 5th, right? So you're not losing rookie contracts and the number of picks. But I would consider that, because now you get in a situation here where one of the 3 guys, I'm hoping one would be there. Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Ruben Bain. Teams bypass the positional value, didn't really care for it as much here, and they take our guys. We're not going to consider Cornell Tate. We're left talking about Mansour Delane, someone I really like out of Clemson. I like Jermon McCoy and Mansour Delane. I believe we did a film review on both of those players. We did one on Dylan Thieneman. I think we did. I'm in this range. Like, this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at even Vega Ione, the guard from Penn State. Kenyon Sadiq. Avion Terrell would be a fantastic nickel. Let's talk about the 3 corners now that we're in this situation. Delane, McCoy, and Avion Terrell. We have not seen Delane and McCoy test yet. It's important for both. There are some speed questions with Delane. We saw him measure in. He wasn't as big as people hoped. He's considered a small corner. McCoy's got more size. But again, coming off the injury in January of 2025, to be clear, it's been a full year and almost a half. Full year and some change, I should say. He's going to test, or has been cleared to test, at his pro day March 31st at Tennessee's pro day. If he does that and looks good, teams are going to be talking about him top 10. I think that he's one of the youngest guys in this draft. The tape he has showed is high level. Got his hands on the ball a ton. Mansour Delane is a man-to-man sticky cover guy that is technically sound, never panics, never penalized, just cool as a cucumber in coverage. Can tackle, right? Isn't the biggest dude, but is a willing hitter and tackler. McCoy, mixed tackler. Not as good. Avion Terrell, the best tackler. This guy forces fumbles. He can play in the slot. He's a smaller guy as well. He doesn't have the long speed, I don't think. He's got good ball skills, though. Got picked on a little bit at times, but I think he is the best tackler of the 3, the best in the slot of the 3. And I want those forced fumbles as well. I think if I was back at 16, 17, 18 to 20, I'd be all about Avion Terrell. It just feels early at 10. Maybe he tests and blows everything up at his pro day. They had their pro day already. Clemson did. So I'm misspeaking here. I don't know if he ever tested. And if he didn't, it's not a good look. I don't think he did everything at the combine. That's why I was waiting for, I want to say, agilities. I'll have to check and see if he did or not. But who else would you really consider here? Do you consider Akeem Messidor? I don't. He's 25. He's had injuries. His tape is awesome. Do you consider Keldrick Falk? Is that where the Bengals would go? He's 23rd on this board. I don't know that the Bengals are there. I don't know that teams are there with him at 20. He's ranked 23rd. I don't know if your teams are considering him top 12. Probably the best defensive end against the run in this class. So that brings us to the top. Do you just draft a corner and say, you know what? I'd rather have 3 good corners and turn it into a strength? Who is the best of these 3? Who's the best fit? If you said fit, Avion Terrell, because I can keep Dax and DJ Turner on the outside. But you got to think long term also. Who's probably the number 1 of all these guys? To me, it's Jermon McCoy. Has a chance to be a number 1. And if he tests well and shows that he's healthy, I would like to take Jermod McCoy. And I like Mansour Delane. But I also think he's probably a high-end number 2 type guy where McCoy could be a number 1. And you may say, we don't need a number 1. I think we do. I don't know that DJ Turner or Dax Hill are number 1 type corners. I'm talking, when I say number 1, I'm talking about a very, very good corner. I'm talking about a guy that we won't be concerned about inconsistencies. It's a very volatile position. Only the top 6 or so guys remain in the top 6 year after year. Everyone else bounces around a little bit. It would not shock me if DJ Turner and Dax Hill had up and down years next year. They haven't shown to be upper echelon guys. They have had stretches where they've played very, very well. But they're not the prospects that Jermod McCoy or Mansour Delane are. I just like McCoy a little bit more, and I think he's very, very good. And when I did that mock draft, also, Delane goes right after to the Dolphins. Carnell Tate to the Cowboys, funny. But when I did the film review of Jermod McCoy, it was right after Daniel Jeremiah had, and I would have considered Dylan Thieneman, to be honest with you guys. I'm in on Thieneman. I just saw him go and I kind of went over him too quickly. If you know me, if you're a subscriber on Twitter, I'm all about Dylan Thieneman. I'm just trying to go a little bit with the mindset of what the Bengals, and they didn't address corner in free agency, right? They got back Jalen Davis. But what I was going to say is when we did that video of McCoy, right after Daniel Jeremiah mocked him, a lot of people did not like that pick. They were mad about the film review at the time. Like, we cannot pick a corner. We have so many other needs. They have less of those needs now. Maybe less pressing needs at defensive tackle. You still need an end, but maybe less pressing need at end. Less pressing need at safety. So corner is still a big need. And Dax and DJ Turner are in the final year of their deal in 2026. We're starting round 2 now. TJ Parker, KC Conception, who I think is awesome. Peter Woods lasted to pick 35, by the way. Jacob Rodriguez at 36. Great pick by the Raiders. I'd consider Rodriguez at 41. I'd like to do a film review on him when we get back to the film reviews. That's a guy who gets the ball out, right? And I would like that. Because the run of tackles happened in the early first round, Lomu and Eikenar are still available in round 2 for the Bengals. Do we want to tackle? Maybe. If I didn't take a corner in round 1, I really like D'Angelo Pons and Chris Johnson. I love Chris Johnson. I think Chris Johnson is fantastic. But I did take a corner. Maybe this is a little reflection here of, sometimes you got to, this is why you do the simulators. Because you're like, maybe you don't have to have Jermod McCoy. If I can get Chris Johnson, if you can guarantee me Chris Johnson at 41, I'm not taking a corner at 10. I don't care who's there. Maybe I go Thieneman in that scenario. Maybe I go Kenyon Sadiq to just take an offensive player, another weapon for Joe Burrow. Let's try and make Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, make them the best they can be with another weapon. Is there someone else now? I'm a big fan of R. Mason Thomas as a pass rusher. Straight up pass rusher, edge guy. I think we got enough early down defensive ends. We got Shamar Stewart. Miles Murphy can play the rundowns. Boye Mafe is very good against the run. Do we have enough winners? Edge winners, pass rushers that can just tee off on the edge and win. That's what our Mason Thomas is. And I don't know that we do have enough of those guys. I would have liked him to test a little bit better. We got to see the rest of his testing when OU does their pro day. Some people really like Zion Young. I didn't see the explosiveness this year from him, so I'm not as high on it. Lee Hunter, I liked on tape. But his testing because he's a nose tackle size, he was never going to test very well. His production's solid for being a nose tackle size. But to me, he doesn't play like a nose tackle. He's not going to be a guy to take on double teams despite being huge. He's more of like a nuisance penetrator, big body. And they're rare guys, but I don't know that I have to have that here. Gabe Akis is one of the better run defender edge guys out of Illinois. You can go safety with A.J. Halsey, who played a ton of free, but has the body of a strong safety, and when he hits people, they fold. I think this is a tough one. I think if you want to go linebacker, Jake Golday is a edge body type. Like, you're looking for a Sam linebacker that can do the Sam stuff for you, it's probably Jake Golday. He can do a lot of that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't want to get too deep down the list here because we want to pick from the top. Denied Dennis Sutton, guy I like on tape a ton. I'd like to do a film review on him. Really like Grayson Holton. Feel like I've drafted him before. We're getting too far down. So now we got to look at it. Do we want... Eichenauer played right tackle at Arizona State. We don't want a Chris Bell, right? We don't want to go to receiver. I think we've gotten the shaft in the first round and the second round here. I got to be honest, because now I would love to have D'Angelo Pons. I'd love to have Chris Johnson. I've had Johnson over Pons actually slightly, but I see they're close here. I think if I'm saying I need to address some of these needs, I don't think pass rush is completely addressed. And there's not really a guard that I would like. I don't want to have to take a tackle that I don't know if I can move or what I can do with them. And scrolling down real quick, I think the best player here is R. Mason Thomas, who is a very, very good pass rusher. Scores really high for us. We have a first-round grade on him in our draft sheet. Fringe first. He's right at the border. He's like 28th on our spreadsheet. So getting him at 41, I've got no issue with that. And you're seeing Chris Johnson go off the board right away. Zion Young as well. So you're seeing the run on the guys we've talked about. Gabe Akis as well. It doesn't feel like... There's been years where we've picked, 33rd, obviously. But, what was the Jackson Carman year? 35th or 30? I think it was 35th before they traded down. We've been in the 40 range. I've liked those classes more. I feel like there's good options in the third round when I do these. Not so much. Jake Golday, pick 55. I think that's great value there. Not so much in round 2 when this hits. And that's why I would like more picks, or I'd like to get and move around 41. 41 to me, let's clip this when we trade back from 41, when the Bengals do. 41 to me is screams trade back. Bengals collect extra picks, get back to 50 to 55, and pick through who was there. Like Jake Golday going at 55 makes a ton of sense. If you really want to get a linebacker and feel you need to get a linebacker, and I do feel like we need to. Do you want to entrust this linebacker unit with another rookie? Unless it's Sonny Styles, to me, I don't know that I have to go with a guy that's also likely to struggle. We talked about this when they drafted Knight and Carter, and I did a bunch of research on what are the lowest scoring positions as rookies, typically using PFF grades. Linebacker was number 1. Do you want to do that again? I don't want to do that. I'd rather get a veteran in here and then get a linebacker if one presents itself. We're presented with corners at the top of the board again. It's a strong corner class. Again, why you may not take one at 10 because you're being slapped in the face by a corner. I think Elijah Surratt could be a fun slot guy for us. I think Max Clare can be a fun tight end and end up being our tight end 1 in a year or two. Kamari Ramsey at safety. Chandler Rivers, I think I may have taken... No, it was the post-combine review. I really like Chandler Rivers. I think Kyle Lewis is a very, very fun fit. We need to get better. Even if you like Knight and Carter, and if, let's say the Bengals do, neither really showed the coverage ability that Kyle Lewis shows to be almost like a slot hybrid overhang defender. Linebacker, this is what Pitt did with him. They put him in the slot. They let him cover. His man coverage skills are crazy. A lot of ball production in man coverage. Very, very good. I didn't realize Anthony Hill was so low in this as well. So that's interesting. If you're thinking Anthony Hill versus Kyle Lewis, I almost like Lewis more than Hill. Do we want tight ends? Jake Slaughter at center, I wouldn't have a problem with at all. What have we gone so far? We've gone corner with Jermon McCoy. We've gone R. Mason Thomas. Those are 2 guys I like. I feel down about this draft, but those are 2 guys I really like. I really like Jake Slaughter as well. Could he play guard for a year for you, take over for Ted Karras in the future? Not that I'm trying to start this guy right now, right? But someone's going to play. Genesis Smith, Ted Hurst, Jonah Coleman could be a lot of fun. Give yourself a hammer at running back to go with Chase Brown. I think Malachi Fields would be a blast. Put Jamar Chase in the slot. Give me Malachi Fields and T. Higgins on the outside. You have a lot of fun with that. Jayshawn Barham, kind of an edge, kind of a linebacker. Could be that Sam for you. Zakee Wheatley, I think he ran slow, but otherwise I like him on tape a ton. I tell you who I like here, okay? Jayshon Barham, I do like. I think Jonah Coleman could be a lot of fun. You guys considering offensive weapons here, tight ends? I mean, it's the third round. Jake Slaughter, why not get your center of the future? I mean, he's a good prospect. He's a very good prospect. Kamari Ramsey, do you want to get another safety? Kyle Lewis, a cover linebacker. Barham, so if I go Jayshon Barham, Michigan, is more of a pass rush, run defense, power edge guy. That can be a Sam linebacker. Where Kyle Lewis is more of that flex hybrid. You can put him in the slot and cover with him. They did it a bunch. Can we get these? Yeah, we can get some grades here. Look at 2024. Scored really high. He was really good at the Senior Bowl. Really good in coverage. I think Kyle Lewis can be a ton of fun. What do you guys think about that? I can't hear your comments. I'm drafting Kyle Lewis. We go defense straight. I feel weird about going defense. 3 straight picks. The Bengals don't do that, right? They're mixing an offensive pick there somewhere. Was that the tight end range? Is that where they get an offensive lineman? Do they go running back? I think all that could happen. I don't think it would go straight across the board, getting a corner, a pass rusher, and a linebacker. That never happens, right? They don't go straight need. They're going to take a lot of needs, and they have a lot of needs. But I don't feel like they would attack them the way I did. This draft fell weird, though. It fell, not felt. It fell weird. And I'm seeing, like even Sam Rush, right, from Stanford tight end, tested really, really well, and he's a good blocker. Romello Height is a pass rusher. Would you rather Romello Height at 85 or R. Mason Thomas at 41? LT Overton, I got to watch. He scores really well for us. I still have to get to him. Jake Slaughter just went. There he goes there at 89. Elijah Surratt at 90 to the Dolphins. There goes Malachi Fields. Didn't the Cowboys already take a receiver? What's going on here? Rayshon Benny, defensive tackle. Markel Bell. Is he a third-round pick now? That's crazy. Zakee Wheatley, there he goes at 97. Genesis Smith, did we see Jalen Kilgore at all? I don't think we did. Man, give me Jalen Kilgore in this next round. I'm not going to get it. Of course, I'm going to get the draft review and recap here. Jermod McCoy, R. Mason Thomas, Kyle Lewis, attacking some needs, getting better at pass rush, getting better at corner, getting better and maybe doing more and being more versatile in your nickel package. I think Kyle Lewis can be a cover linebacker for you on day one. Again, I don't want to trust him to be the only thing. I would still be going out there to look at Matt Milano, Bobby Wagner, Shaq Thompson, whoever else. I mean, you're picking scraps in free agency right now at the linebacker position. And just looking at our draft spreadsheet now, it's not finalized, right? Guys are still testing. There's still a ways to go. But Jermod McCoy is number 8 right now. He's got a test. Hopefully he tests well on our spreadsheet. R. Mason Thomas is number 33. And Kyle Lewis is number 59. So we got R. Mason. We got the 8th player at 10. We've got the 33rd player at pick 41. And we got the 59th player at pick 72. So I feel like I'm sitting BPA, but also attacking needs, right? I don't want to drop down multiple spots to address a need. If the need lines up with the section of BPA players we have, that's how I try to pick. But I want to ignore needs as much as we can. And I say this because maybe it's just more of an ideal thing and it's not really applicable because the Bengals obviously have needs. But they didn't address all their needs in free agency. And is the answer just slapping a 3rd-round pick on it? No, of course not. That guy may not play, may not be good at all. So you're not really addressing needs. I'd rather take, if there's a tight end that's really good, rather take the tight end. If there's a lineman that's really good on the offensive line, I'd rather take them. I don't want to just throw picks at linebackers until it gets fixed. I want to draft a good linebacker. I don't want to just throw picks at corner until we get a 3rd guy. I want to pick the right guy. right? I want to pick a good corner. Luckily, there's a lot of good corners in this draft. But I think you'll get what I'm saying. Sometimes I do these mocks, and I just say, who are the top 3 guys? And those are the only ones I consider when you go through each pick. And it comes out very different. And looking back and doing draft analysis, the first year I ever did it was the Gresham year. What was that? 2010? 2010 was the first time I did scouting reports on players, watching film, doing mock drafts and draft analysis on the internet. And was paid to do it at the time. 2010, first time I got paid to do a lot of content was that year. And I've learned this will be the 17th year now of doing draft stuff, if math is right. The teams that just draft the best guys, now everyone's going to have a different opinion on who that best guy is, but if it aligns with who I think is the best guy, they have the best success looking back. The teams that say we need to get a defensive end, and then they get to that pick and they're picking a guy that's 20 spots later, you hope you're right. You hope you're smarter than everybody else, but the odds are you're not. And you have to play with the consensus. You have to stay within the groupthink a little bit, because you're taking the chance that if 5,000 people think this guy should go in this spot, who are you to say he shouldn't? So we use consensus data. I hope the Bengals do stick to the board. We're going to do a lot more mock drafts. This was more of a reflection of the first wave of free agency, feeling like we still needed secondary help, still needed pass rush help. That's where the first 2 picks went, even though the first 2 free agent signings were there. Plus defensive tackle. Hey, they probably saved us from taking a defensive tackle at some point there. But although I did do a mock earlier where Caleb Banks was still there from Florida at 41, I'm in. So you can't completely wipe these positions off the board just because of free agency. I would still take Caleb Downs if he got there. I would still take Dylan Thieneman in a scenario like this that played out today. Maybe one of those linemen don't go, and Jermai McCoy and Mansour Delane do go. Do you take an offensive lineman, or do you go with, think about that. If instead of Maui Noah and Fano, it went insert whatever, but it ends up being McCoy and Delane replacing those 2 players ahead of us, who are you taking then? Are you taking Maui Noah, Kenyon Sadiq, Dylan Thieneman? That scenario could happen. You got to be ready to go BPA. And we're ready to dive back into the draft here on Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. Let me know how I did in that 3-round mock and where you would have went differently. Until next time, Hoo day.